Hello, everyone. I am your special guest host, Colleen Kilpatrick, and I want to welcome all of you to Smart Women Talk, where we search the world for smart women and a few good men, including best-selling authors, thought leaders, and change agents who are leading the edge. Our topics include money, business, health, inspiration, and the metaphysical. Today, I have the great honor and privilege of interviewing certified financial planner and midlife millionaire coach, Ms. Katana Abbott. Katana is the host of Smart Women Talk, and we're turning the tables on her today. I'm going to interview her. She's usually out there interviewing everybody else, and today it's her turn. Today, we are going to be talking about creating income for your next act. So specifically, here are the three topics we're going to be talking about. How much do you need to retire? Big question. How to fund your next act, whatever that may be, whatever may be calling to you, and the art of manifesting. Wouldn't we all like to know that and be better manifestors? So here's a little bit about Katana. Katana Abbott is a certified financial planner, professional, midlife millionaire coach. For over 30 years, Katana has shown women 50 plus how to create financial freedom and a life of purpose and meaning during their third act. Today, she teaches women to create a secure and wealthy retirement lifestyle by taking charge of their finances, getting organized, and preparing for expected and those unexpected life events. Katana lives on a lake in Michigan with her husband of 35 years. She and her sister-in-law, who have both had double knee replacements, have just made this grand decision, and now are in training to do a half marathon at the Edinburgh Marathon in Scotland next May. Welcome to Smart Women Talk, Katana Abbott. I'm so thrilled and excited to have the honor of interviewing you.
Hi, Colleen. It's really fun to be here, and it's fun to have the table turned.
Oh, well, good. Well, this is going to be great fun for me to get to know you a little better and for everybody else to know you better as well. So we're going to jump right in. So you have been a certified financial planner for 30 years now, more than 30 years, serving people. And I know originally you built your practice with Ameriprise Financial, but in 2005, something happened that caused you to say, okay, enough is enough. I'm done. Can you tell us about that? What exactly happened?
I'm sure I'm not alone with feeling that way. I know a couple of years ago, I was with some friends down in Florida, and they kept saying, I'm done, I'm done. And so I know people who are listening, they've probably hit the wall, especially during COVID here. There's been so many people that are trying to reinvent more people have left their jobs to seek other things. And that's what happened to me. I was 46. I was a workaholic at the time, and I was running my financial planning practice that I had started in 1987 and I now had over 200 clients. I also was managing 100 million in assets, and it just felt like such a huge responsibility. And I remember feeling at one point like I was that little dog pulling the pack up the hill for the Grinch. And it would, that pain manifested in my shoulders. It was just such a big responsibility. And because I had been doing it almost 20 years. So I was the rainmaker. I was the one who did the high level estate planning and business planning. I also was the visionary for the business, and I had to do the marketing. In fact, at this point, we had done that year in 2005, as we were finishing up, we had done 30 live events, different things. And so anyway, I was at the top of my game, but self-care was just not, it was on the bottom of the list, and it wasn't on purpose. I just was busy. So I had been receiving these messages from the universe that it was time for a change, but I had been ignoring it. And it's interesting when the universe can't get your attention, a lot of times, because we'll be ignoring that calling in our soul, a lot of times it'll manifest in our body. And so it showed up in my health, and how it showed up was not only, the pain in the shoulders, but it wasn't so much that, it was this problem in my knees with arthritis. And I had people that were spiritual coaches tell me that has to do with moving forward in life. So, and it was also just simply a lack of exercise and a lot of stress. So I was in constant pain. So on top of it, I remember getting a phone call from my mother that my stepfather had fallen at the health club. He had he had, I guess, a bowel blockage, and he had injured himself, cracked his head. And when they were doing this x-ray, they saw he had lung cancer.
Wow.
Yeah. And my mother, she was diagnosed with dementia at the same time. So I had it coming from my own family. And on top of it, I was also teaching a designated daughter caregiving program. So I was living what I was teaching.
Sure.
So all of this was happening at one time. And I just, my kids needed me. And I just decided, I've been doing this almost 20 years. I'm going to take some time off to focus on my family and my health. And because, and also to explore this new idea of coaching that I wanted to do. And so I was really fortunate because I had gone to a program. I had invested tens of thousands of dollars into a program called The Strategic Coach out of Toronto. And I had implemented everything I learned, and I had set up a team. We had systems in place. My practice was able to run without me. And so I thought I'd test it. And I told my partner, John, I said, I'm going to leave for a year. We have this thing running. It's all on autopilot. And I'm going to take a year off to just figure out what I should do and to be with my family. So that year I worked with my father as he transitioned and he passed. And we moved my mother into assisted living. And I will tell you that I had all the planning in place for my stepfather and my mother. They had long-term care insurance. They had wills and trusts and powers of attorney. So we were able to focus on their their quality of life and quality of care. But it still takes an emotional toll on someone to see someone go through cancer. And I know, Colleen, you totally understand this. And
Sure.
I want to talk about that with you. So my mom, we moved her into assisted living, and I did get to test this idea of being an author, a speaker, a coach. And at the end of that year, I took a little trip by myself. I actually went at the beginning of the year on a cruise all by myself. I told my husband I was going to be gone for 10 days. When I came back, I gave John a call and I said, John, figure out what the business is worth. And because it had this ongoing passive income, it had a lot of value. And he was able to buy it from me. We had a buy-sell agreement all blessed through the company. And I was able to get it. We created a 7-year, 7-figure buyout.
Wow. Wow. Impressive.
So John never missed a payment. I do want to point out what was amazing, Colleen, is it was 2007, January. You know what happened in 2007, 8, and 9. We had that big correction. He never missed a payment. And it was because of the systems we put in place and the fact that we had passive income. So this idea of creating ongoing passive income in your business is so important. But that was my big wake-up call and in my chance to actually transition. Now I was only 47, so I look at that as a second act. So that was my second act at 47, because I did become self-employed and I got to start Smart Women's Coaching and Smart Women's Empowerment. Now I'm in my third act because I'm over 60 and looking at that. And it's, again, I've reinvented again. So I hope women are listening and thinking about their own life and how maybe they might be wanting to do the same type of thing. The key is to make sure you don't do this on your own. You get some support and help to walk you through a process like that. And if you do have family that are still living, be sure to spend time with them and get that planning in place, because when a woman leaves work and retires early or has to take off time to care for a sick spouse, to care for loved ones, they can lose, the average is about $325,000 or $350,000, something like that. And it's because of lost wages. It's because of lost contributions to 401k, Social Security, and just being able to put that money away. And also you kind of lose your mojo if you just get out of the market and do caregiving for, let's say it could be a year, it could be many, many years. It's hard to get back in. So just some tips about, you got to plan for this, because I wasn't expecting that. So it was two things. It was like things happening in my life externally, but there was this calling inside that was so strong. So
must have been very difficult, but at the same time, this was your work. This is what you did. This is what you were aware of. But then to see your parents going through this, challenging for sure. The interesting thing about your career over 30 years, you've seen clients through different markets and different challenges. So I'm curious, do you see different challenges coming up now than what you saw maybe back in 1987 with your clients?
This is the key. Everything, Colleen, everything has changed. So back in 1987, okay, I was working with our parents. Those were my clients, and the greatest generation, I guess we call them. And so a lot of them had been working for many, many years. I come from Detroit, so we had a lot of people in the automotive industry, but even other companies had things called pensions back then. So I used to talk about this idea of a three-legged stool, that you need to have your pension. So if you look at the three legs, imagine this: your pension, your Social Security, and your savings. And if any of those were weak, your Social Security, your retirement would be in danger. Well, think about today, all of those are weak, if not broken or gone. So if you look at pensions, those are gone. Back in especially when the 2008 Great Recession happened, a lot of the baby boomers lost jobs. The market crashed, and a lot of people lost their 401, their pension plans, and the people were transitioned into 401k plans. I know my husband has two pensions. He's very, very lucky, but he's grandfathered because now where he works, they've switched to a 403b, which is like a 401k where they add money to it. So that idea of a pension, and we'll talk a little bit about that later, how valuable that is. The second leg, savings, the employees now didn't have pensions, and anyone who has a job with a 401k understands the responsibility. You now have to be a money manager, because see, with the pension, the company has to put the money in and manage it properly, because they're guaranteeing to pay you a stream of income when you retire based on how many years you worked and how much you were earning. With a 401k, you're putting money in, you're hoping you're picking the right investments. Actually, if it goes down, it's actually good because you're buying the dip, but you're hoping that by the time you retire, you're going to be able to contribute enough, and you have to figure out how much should you be putting away, or maybe just putting away the max. But let me give you an idea. Let's say that you want to have a $20,000 a year guaranteed pension for yourself, and you're going to build your 401k up, and then you're going to create one for yourself, because I show people how to do that, and they can get like a 5 or 6% return, and it's guaranteed, like a pension. But if you wanted to do this through your 401k, because you wouldn't really know how to do what I'm talking about, you'd have to have $500,000 built up in your retirement plan to generate a 4% withdrawal rate to earn that $20,000 a year.
Wow.
And
wow.
Listen, when interest rates so I'm going to talk about when our parents, were coming to me in 1987, the interest rates on bonds were 8%. So
Wow.
if someone put 100,000 in, they get 8,000 a year. Today, the interest rates are 1.5% on 10-year treasuries. So if you had not 100,000, but if you had $1 million, all you could pull out would be all you would get in interest is $15,000 a year from $1 million.
Wow.
And that is $300 a week. So we're really in a very difficult time for the young people. So this idea of creating these other streams of income, entrepreneurial income, and you see the young people realize they see the writing on the wall. So I just want to give you that again. So if you did build up in your 401k 500,000 and you wanted to be safe and put it in bonds, that would only generate 7,500 or 100 a year, or $144 a week with current interest rates at 1.5% on US Treasuries. Comparing that to 34 years ago when things cost a heck of a lot less money.
Sure.
500,000 at 8% in 1987 was generating $800 a week, or 40,000 instead of 7,500. I mean, unbelievable.
Big difference for sure.
So the third leg is Social Security. And I want to hit this because so many people that's all they have saved. The average American, I think, only has 20,000, when they do these stats, which they're kind of messed up because of the income inequality and savings inequalities. But what happened to Social Security is in the 1980s and 90s, Congress wanted to raise taxes. So they started taxing Social Security. So if they put a 50% tax if your earnings were over a certain amount, then later they added, if they were a little bit higher than that, then you would have 85% tax. And they also have been working at raising the age you could retire. So you used to be able to retire at 65. And now that is moving towards 67. And I'll bet you they're going to move it to age 70. You watch. So, but we're living much longer. Remember when our parents retired, they, would work till age 60, 65, but they didn't live that long, especially our grandparents. On average, they didn't live that long. Nowadays, when someone tries to take early Social Security at 62, they might live till 90. How in the heck are they going to live off just Social Security? And how are they going to save up enough money that's going to generate income, especially when interest rates are at 1.5%?
Sure.
So it's a very difficult time to try to turn your 401k into an income stream. You have to have some other options. And that's why I say get with an advisor. People can contact me if they want to talk. They can go on my website. I have some ideas on my free guide. I have a free guide on 3 strategies for living your midlife millionaire lifestyle. But I do have some more details on what I'm talking about.
Excellent. Totally different time now. I think about my own parents and how different their 60s were, 50s were than mine. So a very challenging time for sure. So you have created something called the Midlife Millionaire Solution, which I love. I love that concept, that idea. What inspired you to launch this project?
Well, it was basically what we are talking about right now. Because and maybe if you're not driving, you can write this down. But if you were age 65 today and you had $1 million saved up, that's the, millionaire concept. But the millionaire solution is if you had $1 million saved up, and I kind of gave a tip, how much would your advisor allow you to take out of that account? Do you have any idea? What percentage? 10%, 8%, 5%? What do you think, Colleen?
4%.
You know the answer.
You just said it, so I remember.
4%, which is 40,000 a year, 3,500 a month, $800 a week. Okay, now let's say you're 50. So go back to when I retired the first time. I guess my only time so far. So I was 47, close to 50. If you were 50 and you wanted to save up $1 million by the time you were 65, so like in 15 years, it's possible, but you'd have to save, here comes the number again, 40,000 a year for 15 years, and you'd have to be guaranteed to get 7% every single year, you could then have $1 million in your account. So it's possible, but how many people can do that?
Sure.
So my thought is, when you can earn $800 a week doing something, your side hustle, your passion project, working part-time, then that is equivalent to having, because $800 a week is $40,000 a year. That's equivalent to having $1 million invested in paying you. So which would be easier, to try to save $40,000 a year for 15 years to try to get at 65 to try to get that $1 million and hope the market doesn't take a correction on top of it, or for you to figure out how to generate $800 a week doing something you love? So the beauty about a third act is you now have some stability because you have some savings, you have Social Security, Medicare coming up. So the problem is not so often the retirement itself, it's people getting to retirement, because you do have some security when you get to retirement. And so you can have fun with your passion project. And so what I see is that for most people, and 95% of Americans are saying they're going to do something. But the beauty is now you can have some time to work on your passion project. And for most people, it's going to mean doing something that they love. Then it would be maybe a combination of working, learning, relaxing, trying new things. I know one of the things that I'm really looking forward to is doing offsite retreats, leading retreats. So I get to travel and teach at the same time. Now, there's a silver lining to all this, because this is according to Life Science, I think it was .com, but they said the silver lining is for those that work, they are going to have better health as long as the work is not stressful, and less high blood pressure, less cancer, less cardiovascular disease, and they're likely to have less, depression. So, I mean, it really does make sense. And that makes me think about, I've been to Costa Rica 9 times, and I love the Nicoya Peninsula, which is one of the blue zones. And in talking to the people there, they really do believe in lifetime physical labor. And, they don't retire. You stay involved, and, you transition to something else, but you stay active. So here is what I want to end with. Earning just $10,000 a year once you have retired from your day job is like having an extra $250,000 invested for you, earning that 4%. Double it to $20,000 a year, and it's like having $500,000. How does that feel?
Oh, excellent. Excellent. It's interesting because friends who are my contemporaries, a certain age, a lot of them are talking about their encore career. And sometimes it's so that they have a continued stream of income. But like you said, sometimes it's to stay sharp and to stay involved in the game and to be meeting people and sharing their gifts with the world while they're still here. So I think it's a wonderful concept, and I'm glad you're working with people who, are serious about doing it. The other question I've noticed a lot of my contemporaries asking and thinking about is Social Security. For many years, we've heard that it's going away. It won't be there when we retire. It's still around right now. But the question is when to take it. Some people say take it at 62, and now we're talking about age 70. So do you have any guidance on that? Like, when exactly should we take Social Security? What do we need to think about to make that decision?
Okay. So I'm not going to tell you when, because it's going to be different for every single person. Mm-hmm. And my husband and I have a great software that helps me look at, financial plans, like a crystal ball. It's really kind of cool. So I suggest that you order, if you don't have it already, your Social Security estimate. And so when you get your estimate out, you're going to see they show you what your income will be at 62, at regular retirement, full retirement, which right now it's about 66 and 2 months. I think my full retirement would be 66 and 7 months. And then they also show you if you work till 70. how much your Social Security will be. So I'm going to compare with you some numbers here. These are real numbers. So age 62, $1,600 a month. And that's 20,000 a year. But by delaying till age 70, that 1,600 goes up to 3,000 a month. And that would be 36,000 a year. So that's a huge, huge jump. That's 15,000 more per year of income. Now, if somebody does not have enough savings to provide income for the rest of their life, then most of the time I would say absolutely delay Social Security and build that up. Build that Social Security up as much as possible, because delaying from 62, because it's, very tempting to get that money from 62 to 70, you're actually getting a 70% increase in your payment. That's huge. So you can keep working and save. This is the problem. Let's say you wait till 70 and then you die 2 years later, right? So there's an opportunity cost there. You just gave up 20,000 a year for 9 years. Did you think about that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So there's $180,000 that you gave up. So you have to do the break even. So I haven't done the break even on this, but for example, if you took the difference of 15,000 a year and you looked at how many years would it take getting that bigger number to break even? I think it's, in this case, it's around, 10 years, 10 and a half years to around 80. But you have to work with someone that can help you do that. There's some software programs on the internet you can look at. But remember something, if you take Social Security at 62 and then you decide, and you start getting that early, and then you realize, oh my gosh, I have to work, I'm not getting enough, or you love working and you get this great job and you earn over $18,000 a year, you're going to have to start paying back money to the Social Security. They're going to actually take away $1 for every, I think 2 or 3 that you earn. Oh God, I usually know that number right off the top of my head. So at age 67, however, for most people that are my age, you can earn as much as you like once you reach full retirement age. So you really have to work with someone, look at the numbers, and you want to get that Social Security statement out. So if you have an advisor, order that statement, give them a call, or you're welcome to book a meeting with me and I'll help you take a look at it, and we can, talk about crunching those numbers for you as well. But don't just assume that one makes more sense, waiting, because you really have to look at your health too. And especially if you're married, there's some things you can do with one taking benefits, the other one delaying. So it can be complicated. Also, taking income in different ways, you can keep your Social Security taxable. So you have to look at things like, should I be using, I know it's getting too complicated, a Roth IRA? Can I take capital gains? You have, you can keep your Social Security tax free by taking certain strategies, is what I want to point out. So again, get some help with that.
So smart, because I know, working with you, having been a client of yours still, there's so much more peace knowing that I have these different pieces figured out. Because with Social Security, as you just mentioned, if you make the wrong decision, you are going to end up paying or leaving a lot of money on the table, or losing out, not having that money while you're here on the planet. So it does make sense to hire a professional who can really look at your particular situation and make that decision. Smart.
And if you're 62 and you start early and then you change your mind, you get one chance to change your mind. So you better do it quickly, and because you'll have to pay that money back, but you get a do-over one time.
Wow. Interesting.
Yeah. So, don't just take my word for this. Before you take it, or if you are taking it, and you're still 62, get a hold of them immediately if you feel like you need to stop it and you want to have a do-over.
Right. And have somebody look at your particular situation. Makes a lot of sense. So for women in midlife who want to reinvent, and so they're attracted to this idea of having a third act, but they want to create their encore career or the third act. What are some key points that they should keep in mind when they're doing this?
Okay, yeah, I'll try to keep this, short, but there's three things. They should really know their numbers. And, I've been a financial planner for 35 years. It's like having a crystal ball. You can look at all different scenarios. I want you to get a preview of what your retirement will look like, but also if you are thinking about leaving your job in your 40s or 50s, look at the opportunity cost, because if you decide you're going to leave, you're giving up benefits, and you are going to have to create your own retirement plan, health insurance, and you just want to make sure that leaving, that was a really big decision for me, leaving when I had that kind of a business going back at 47 years old. That was very young. So do your financial plan. The second one is to know your strengths and your unique abilities and talents. Know if you're front stage or backstage, because front stage would be the person who does the business development, the marketing, and they bring in the business. And the backstage is the person that makes it all happen. They make everything run smoothly, and they're invaluable to a business. So understand how you make money. One of the millionaire mindset skills is know what you do best and focus on that, period. So the third will be test out your idea or your passion project. You notice how I took a year off to make sure that I wanted to do that. I think this is why it's a great idea to have a side hustle or a plan B. People can do this on a part-time basis. So is there a market for your idea? How do you price it? There is actually a whole class in the Smart Women's Academy. So when you come to the Smart Women's Empowerment website, or if you come to my website, katanaabbott.com, and you pick up my guide, my free guide, you will also be invited to join the Smart Women's Academy. And we've got a course in there that is called Turn Your Passion into Profit, Turn Your Passion into Profit with Nancy Collimer. And she's got a book, Second Act Careers, 50 Ways to Profit from Your Passion During Semi-Retirement. So but she talks about third acts or second acts. And in there, she has all these great ideas for side hustles and, a plan B type of thing, but for different ways to turn your passion into income for your retirement. And actually in that course is called Turn Your Passion into Profit. We have 9 interviews and worksheets, and they're all free. Wow. So if you're interested, you can come to katanaabbott.com. And when you do that, you can pick up my guide, my free guide, and then you'll get our e-zine, and you'll also receive access to this Smart Women's Academy.
Fantastic. Awesome. Thank you.
So Colleen, I'm sorry, but I have to ask you a question now. Okay. We're talking about all this, and so much when I've been talking, I'm thinking about you, because you contacted me when you were going through some major transitions in your life, and you've turned it around, and you've had to reinvent yourself, and you've created an interesting way to create income for your third act. Can you tell us a little bit about your story?
Yeah, sure. Would love to. So back in prior to 16, I had been a co-caregiver for my parents for several years as their health declined. My sister and I took care of them. They passed away. I was then responsible for selling their house, getting rid of all of their earthly possessions, which was a huge, huge job. And right after that, it's the week we got the house on the market, my parents' house, my husband was diagnosed with cancer. So 9 months later, he passed away. That was in 2016. And I contacted you and I said, I need help figuring out what's what and what's up. There was, a lot of paperwork, a lot of financial decisions I had to make. I was also his trustee, so I had to figure out how to do all of that. And then in the midst of that, my heart valve ruptured. And I was put on life support and ended up having open heart surgery, which saved my life. Wonderful thing. But after that, I remember thinking, I've got to figure out a way to generate some income, because even though I had IRAs in place and money for my retirement already set up, I didn't want to rely on that. I didn't want to have early withdrawal penalties. So I thought I need to generate some income. But because I had been a caregiver for probably a total of 5 years on and off, my own business had suffered and my revenues had greatly declined. And so I either needed to restart that. I was also a public speaker at the time and teaching marketing in classes. And I thought, I can't really do that. I mean, I was at the time recovering from open heart surgery. So I thought, my husband and I met because I moved in next door to him. So I married the boy next door. So we had two houses side by side. And I thought, well, I can take one of these houses, continue to live in mine, and turn his into an Airbnb. We shared both of them, but we had talked about the possibility of doing that and getting a larger home for us and turning our homes into Airbnbs. And I thought, well, that's probably my best option. So while I was recovering from open heart surgery, I started that process. I started researching online how to have an Airbnb. I took classes. I had to empty all of his earthly goods from the house and a bunch more stuff that no Airbnb should have. So even though I was very weak, I would take a few things out of the closet, put it in a pile in the garage for Salvation Army or whatever, and eventually cleared out the house, got it all set up to be an Airbnb. And within 6 months of his passing and about 4.5 months of my surgery, I was up and running on the Airbnb and VRBO platforms. And that's been 5 years. So that's continued to generate income for me that has gotten me through so that I didn't have to pull money out of my IRA.
And Colleen, you are generating a huge income. I mean, when we talk about 1.5% from bonds, you're getting a much higher return on your Airbnb. And I know it's absolutely cute. It's called the Red Maple. Do you mind if I tell?
Yeah, no, go for it.
It's the Red Maple Retreat.
Yes, the Red Maple Retreat in Milford, Michigan.
Yes, and people can find it on Facebook or on the internet.
On Facebook, they can find it. And my link is on my Facebook profile. So just Red Maple Retreat, Milford, Michigan. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's out, your marketing and the way just the whole way you've marketed has been amazing. And you live in a small town where when I brought all the gals who went to Costa Rica on my retreat a few years ago, I brought them all to my house for a retreat. And when we went to Milford, they all thought they were up north. Because it's such a cute town, old fashioned town. It even has a fudge shop. And, Michigan, the fudge shops are up in Mackinac Island and Harbor Springs, right? Petoskey. So they all thought they were up north. So it makes a really terrific place for people to come, even on a vacation. But you've learned how to create long-term rental income too.
Yes, because of the current real estate market and COVID and the pandemic. When pandemic started, all of my short-term rentals, meaning a week or so, they all canceled because nobody was traveling. And I thought, I've got this house ready to go and it's darling, it's charming, but nobody wants to be there. So I better do something fast. So I quickly shifted gears and became a long-term rental, appealing to insurance companies, insurance clients who had had a fire, or maybe they were just had a flood and they were redoing their floor and they needed a place to stay while that work was done. That's how I started. As the real estate market changed, I ended up catering to people who are in real estate transition, meaning they sold their house very quickly, but they can't get into or they can't find their next house, or people our age who are in transition thinking about moving elsewhere, but they wanted to sell their house while it was at the top of the market. So now I have long-term renters in, meaning 1 month to 7 months, who want a fully furnished rental and they want to leave all of their things in storage. So it worked out perfectly.
Isn't that amazing? Yeah. So that's really wonderful. And thank you so much for sharing that.
Thank you. Yeah. So I wanted to ask you too, because it's a concern of mine. What are some of the things that can really derail the best retirement planning? Because, we're all doing the best we can with the knowledge we have. What can derail us in retirement?
So I know we're getting short on time here, but I just want to share. I'm gonna mention some of these and just write it down or make a note if any of these come to mind. But ignoring and avoiding money. So I noticed that women do not want to talk about money. I know the Fidelity did a study and found that half the women who have an investment advisor have not even met with their advisor. Half.
Wow.
So, letting someone else manage the money. And a lot of times if you're married or with a partner, they want to let someone else do it. What you mentioned earlier about not spending your 401k or IRA money too early. You really want to let that money grow as long as possible. But some people get into it. I know when my husband and I first got married, we went into our 401k to fund our wedding, which was crazy. That money, we probably have $100,000 with that account by now because of compounding. So to really think about that. And of course, not getting the proper investment allocation in those 401ks, taking Social Security too early or even too late, not taking it at the right time. Just not saving, putting it off, getting started too late. Another one would be building up debt, overspending. And so a lot of these things have to do with money personalities. And so that last one is limiting beliefs, disempowering beliefs, which, I say there's 5 different money personalities. And those disempowering beliefs hold us back from standing in our power, asking what we're worth, being able to do the things that we need to make sure that we make smart choices. So, and again, part of the procrastination would be not planning for unexpected events like a disability, a premature death. I know this sounds so technical. Long-term care, not planning to have those conversations with parents, and then you're stuck in court and the courts are telling you what to do and you have to start selling stuff. And then we're all, most of us, we've handled our parents. A lot of us are at our ages when you get to around 60 years old. So the other issue is we need to plan for ourselves. So one of the things I give women when they work with me is an organizer planner. So they can see what is it I'm supposed to be doing and what am I missing? So we need to address that. Who is going to make decisions for us if something happens? If you're in a car accident even. And who do you want to make decisions? Because you don't want the courts doing that. And if you don't do it yourself, the courts will do it.
It's interesting that you say that, because I think about how much you helped me in my time of need. And I ignored things that I should have paid attention to financially because it was difficult. But you somehow, through your coaching and guidance, I gained the confidence to turn around and look my finances straight in the eye and be very clear about the debt that I had and what I would have for my retirement. And the planner is very helpful for that because it puts it in black and white. They're just numbers, but they're significant, and running from them in fear is not going to fix the problem. You got to turn around and face them head on for sure. Yeah. So Katana, I know we're kind of getting low on time, but I just wanted to ask you if you could share some 3 last tips. I mean, think about the listener out there who may have just become a widow, which is a scary time, or they're thinking, I'm sick of this corporate job. I really don't want to do that. I want to do a third act, but I've got to make enough money to get through. What tips would you have, and how can they connect with you?
So these are tips that I've shared for years because I think they're so important. There's 3 of them. Number 1, find a mentor, because it takes 10 years or 10,000 hours for you to become an expert in your field, whatever you're trying to do. So you can shorten the curve big time by finding a guide, a mentor, a coach. It can even be a book. My book that transformed my life, and now you said you're reading again, is Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. So it can be a book that inspires you, but get help. So number 1. Number 2 is to identify your tribe. Find people and surround yourself. Get away from the naysayers, but surround yourself with people who love and appreciate you and will support you, your cheerleaders and confidants, and they will believe in you, and they also will show you the way and make introductions for you. And then the third is to never, ever, 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 ever give up, because so often when we're feeling the worst, we're so close to success, but we don't. And also when you don't give up, you're using the law of intention. You're initiating the law of attraction when you put your intentions out there. So don't give up, keep focused, keep your thoughts, because your thoughts are things. Focus on what you want. But if you follow those three things, they will work every time.
Yeah, I have to say, I totally agree, especially about finding a mentor who's already further down the path than you are, which you were to me. But when I started my Airbnb, that's what I did. I went to two women who were running a boot camp down in Mexico, and I went to it and I soaked it all in, got everything I needed that I could apply immediately, and hit the ground running when I got back. It would have taken me months to figure all of that out. So I totally agree. Find your mentor in whatever way you can. And stick with it. Don't give it up. Good. Well, thank you so much. I think we're going to wrap up now. Thank you, all of you listeners out there, for joining us. Remember to join our free Smart Women community at joinsmartwomen.com. Again, joinsmartwomen.com, to receive our monthly e-zine, which is Smart Women, Smart Choices. So you will always know who's going to be on the show and be invited to the Smart Women's Academy. Visit joinsmartwomen.com. So our next guest is somebody you're going to want to tune into. This is Linda P. Jones, host of the Be Wealthy and Smart podcast. She will be sharing her new book on investing in cryptocurrency, which is something I'm learning right now. Be sure to join us for that talk with Linda P. Jones on cryptocurrency. And until our next show, go out and live with more purpose, passion, and prosperity. See you.